Long before Europe had kings, before cathedrals rose, before nations even existed, there was Rome, a city that grew into a republic, and then into an empire that shaped the world for more than 1,000 years. But the true story of Rome isn't just the battles it fought or the monuments it built. It's the people who ruled it. The emperors of Rome were more than leaders. They were symbols of ambition, genius, chaos, virtue, and catastrophe. Some expanded the empire to its greatest heights. Some nearly destroyed it. Some ruled with calm discipline, while others treated the empire like a personal stage. And yet, together, their lives form one of the most dramatic timelines in human history. A story of power that rises, cracks, reforms, and finally fades. Today, we're not diving into every emperor. We're painting the big picture, the beginner's guide. A simple, clear timeline of how Rome moved from Augustus to Constantine, from greatness to collapse, and how one idea of empire lasted far longer than the empire itself. For most of its history, Rome wasn't ruled by kings. It wasn't ruled by emperors. It wasn't even ruled by a single person. Rome was a republic, a complex machine of elections, senators' laws, and bitter rivalries. But eventually, the machine broke. Civil wars tore the state apart. Ambition outgrew tradition. And into that chaos stepped a new kind of ruler, the Roman emperor. The story of Rome's emperors is not a straight line. It is a chain of personalities, geniuses, tyrants, builders, dreamers, cowards, philosophers, and madmen, each inheriting a system too big for any one person to control. Oh, their lives shaped the world more powerfully than they ever imagined. Today, we're going to walk through that story. Not every emperor there were more than 80, but the ones whose decisions, flaws, and ambitions defined the fate of the Roman Empire. This is the beginner's timeline, the version that shows Rome through the eyes of the people who ruled it. Let's start at the moment before emperors existed. The end of the Republic Rome began as a republic where leaders were elected and power was shared. But over centuries, the system became corrupt and unstable. Rival generals turned their armies into political weapons. And then came Julius Caesar, brilliant, charismatic, and dangerously powerful. He won battles that made him a hero and reforms that made him a threat. When he was assassinated in 44 BC, the Republic didn't recover. It collapsed into the arms of his adopted son, a young man named Octavian. Not yet an emperor, but about to become the first. Augustus, the first emperor. Octavian defeated his rivals, stabilized Rome, and took a new name, Augustus. He didn't call himself emperor, but he held all the powers of one. He claimed to restore the Republic, yet quietly reorganized everything. Under Augustus, Rome entered Pax Romana, a 200-year period of relative peace and prosperity. Roads, aqueducts, defenses, trade, everything flourished. He created a system where one man ruled, but pretended not to. It was a delicate balance, absolute power, wrapped in the language of tradition. When Augustus died, the empire he built passed to his family, and things became more complicated. The Julio-Claudian dynasty. The next century would be dominated by a family line known as the Julio-Claudians, a dynasty filled with rulers who ranged from capable to catastrophic. Tiberius, Augustus's stepson, a reluctant ruler brilliant in administration, but increasingly paranoid. He withdrew from Rome entirely, ruling from a distant island, while conspiracies multiplied in the capital. Caligula, Tiberius's successor, remembered as a symbol of absolute power gone wrong. At first, beloved, he soon descended into cruelty, extravagance, and bizarre behavior. His reign ended in assassination, a sign of how fragile imperial authority really was. Claudius, Caligula's uncle, intelligent but underestimated because of a disability. He surprised everyone by becoming an effective ruler. He conquered Britain, improved the bureaucracy, and expanded the empire. Nero, the most infamous of all. Creative, passionate, theatrical, but also impulsive, reckless, and ultimately destructive. He faced rebellions, scandals, and accusations, including the Great Fire of Rome. His suicide ended the Julio-Claudian dynasty. And without a clear successor, Rome descended into chaos. The year of the four emperors in 69. AD Rome saw something it had never seen before. Four men claiming the title of emperor in a single year: Galba, Otho, Vitellius. And then finally Vespasian, a general who restored order and built the foundations of a new dynasty. This year showed the truth. The emperor wasn't chosen by law. He was chosen by whoever controlled the loyalty of the armies. The Flavian dynasty, Vespasian. A stabilizer, a practical, steady leader who rebuilt finances and returned dignity to Rome. He began construction of the Colosseum, an arena meant to symbolize Rome's strength. Titus, known for kindness and tragedy. He ruled during disasters, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and a massive fire in Rome. Despite this, he gained admiration as a compassionate ruler. Domitian, powerful but feared. He strengthened the empire, but ruled harshly, eventually assassinated in a conspiracy. Another reminder that emperors lived under the constant shadow of betrayal. With Domitian's death, Rome entered a golden age. The five good emperors. From 96 to 180 AD, Rome was ruled by a remarkable series of leaders, often called the five good emperors. Instead of passing power to biological sons, they adopted capable successors. And the results were extraordinary. Nerva, a transitional reformer. He restored trust after Domitian's tyranny and chose Trajan, a respected general, as his heir. Trajan Rome reached its greatest size under Trajan. His conquests expanded the empire from the Middle East to the edges of Europe. He built roads, bridges, markets, and one of Rome's greatest monuments, Trajan's Column. Hadrian, more of a stabilizer than a conqueror. He withdrew from overextended territories and strengthened defenses, including Hadrian's Wall in Britain. A thinker, architect, and traveler. Antoninus Pius, a quiet but effective ruler. His reign was peaceful and prosperous, a rare achievement in Roman history. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, a thinker with a soldier's burden. He wrote Meditations, a book of personal reflections still read today. But his reign was troubled by war and plague. And tragically, he left the empire to his biological son, ending the tradition of adopting competent heirs. Commodus, the beginning of decline. Commodus was everything his father was not. Egomaniacal, erratic, obsessed with performing as a gladiator. He turned the empire into a personal stage, dressing as Hercules and fighting in the arena. His assassination triggered instability once again and ushered in one of Rome's darkest periods. The crisis of the 3rd century, between 235 and 284 AD Rome, nearly collapsed. For 50 years, the empire was torn apart by invasions, plagues, rebellions, and constant civil wars. More than 20 emperors rose and fell, many murdered by their own soldiers. Economy shattered. Borders disintegrated. Rome fractured into rival states. This was the moment it became clear the empire needed a radical redesign. Diocletian the Tetrarchy. Diocletian, a soldier emperor with a talent for organization, tried to save the empire by dividing it. He created the Tetrarchy, 4 rulers, sharing power across different regions. 2 senior emperors, 2 juniors. It was a bold attempt to make the empire governable again. And for a time, it worked. But power sharing rarely lasts. When Diocletian retired, the only emperor to willingly step down the system broke apart again. From the chaos emerged one man. Constantine the Great, Constantine, defeated his rivals and reunified the empire. He became one of the most influential emperors in history. He legalized Christianity, beginning a cultural shift that would reshape Europe for centuries. He founded Constantinople, a new capital on the crossroads of continents. His reforms strengthened the empire, but also changed its identity forever. After Constantine, Rome would never again be a pagan empire, and it would never again be unified for long. The fall of the West. After Constantine, the empire split permanently into eastern and western halves. The eastern half remained strong. The western half began a slow, irreversible decline. Economic troubles piled up. Barbarian invasions intensified. Political instability shattered leadership. And in 476 AD, the last Western Roman emperor, a teenager named Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by a Germanic general. The Western Roman Empire was gone, but Rome itself was not. The Eastern Empire lives on. While Western Rome fell, the Eastern Roman Empire, often called the Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years. Its emperors like Justinian I continued Roman traditions, Roman law, Roman culture. They built wonders like the Hagia Sophia. They defended the empire against waves of invaders. In many ways, the fall of Rome was not the end, just a shift in geography. The legacy of the emperors lived on. The real lesson of the emperors. When you zoom out, the story of Rome's emperors is not just about battles, dates, and dynasties. It's about human nature. Augustus built an empire through patience. Nero nearly destroyed it through ego. Trajan expanded it with ambition. Marcus Aurelius ruled with wisdom. Diocletian reorganized it with discipline. Constantine transformed it with belief. Each emperor became a mirror of Rome itself, great, flawed, brilliant, chaotic, resilient, and ultimately human. And maybe that's why their story still matters. Because the Roman Empire was not shaped by marble monuments or marching legions. It was shaped by the decisions, impulses, strengths, and weaknesses of the people at the top. An empire, no matter how vast, is only as stable as the humans who lead it. And for Rome, those humans were fascinating. Their choices echo across history. And even now, centuries later, they remind us of a simple truth. Power doesn't just build civilizations. It reveals them. When you step back from the timeline of Roman emperors, a pattern becomes clear. Empires don't rise or fall because of luck. They rise because people build them, and they fall because people break them. Augustus reshaped Rome with quiet patience. Nero dragged it toward chaos with ego and excess. Trajan expanded its borders. Diocletian split it to save it. Constantine reunited it and changed its faith. Each emperor left fingerprints on the world, some gentle, some carved deep enough to last 1,000 years. And maybe that's the real lesson. Rome wasn't a machine powered by laws or armies. It was a reflection of the humans who happened to sit on the throne, their wisdom, their fears, their flaws, and their dreams. The empire built roads, conquered continents, and influenced civilizations that came long after it fell. But in the end, its fate was shaped by the same thing that shapes every society today, who we choose to follow, and what those leaders do with the power they hold. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious, keep exploring history, and remember that even the greatest empires begin with a single decision and end with one too.